campus environment. To sustain a safe, functional, and welcoming campus that supports, stimulates, and advances the dynamic needs of students, families, and staff while facilitating relationships with others and Earth. And I think I was struck, probably one of the first things that struck me when I first came to campus was how unique it is as a campus. I know I had, somehow I was able to find the address on the website, it's a little tricky, and then I wandered around campus trying to figure out what actually is this? Is this like a planned living community? There's all these houses. But as you really live it, you see how unique it is and how beautiful the transition is for children from your home into our small, warm, nurturing homes. Then how for the 1st through 6th graders, they get to be in this bigger community with very unique spaces that perfectly suit the kinds of hands-on discovery-based learning that we do, perfect for Montessori and for all the students. And then they get ready for that transition, which has been 7th, 8th grade. The plan will be for it to be 6th through 8th grade on the other campus. And really have more of a high school kind of style campus up on the Norwood campus. So it has so much opportunity, but of course the fact that only one of our 7 buildings was actually designed to be a school originally has with it its challenges. But our beautiful outdoor space is something we've only scratched the surface of using as well. And it is by design that we chose a picture of our campus and not just of our buildings when we looked at it very holistically. So develop a campus-wide master plan to optimize the use and potential of the buildings and the grounds to allow for future needs. So we are currently in the process. We have put out the request for proposals. We have currently 5 firms putting together proposals for master planning. The hope would be that our facilities committee will advise and will make a final decision on a vendor or an architectural firm to be commissioned to do that work and complete that work by the end of this summer. So that going next school year, we will have a real actionable plan with goals and numbers and realistic needs-based assessment of our buildings going into our 100th year. Improve comfort and functionality in an environment that is conducive to learning. So certainly you can read, embedded in that is not just HVAC, but certainly that's an element. We've heard that it is a little warm sometimes in parts of our spaces, but there are so many other elements to that. It's just how our kids spend so much time on the floor, and it's wonderful. But we have to have spaces that are conducive to that, and our kids need to adapt and work in different sizes groups. So we need spaces that adapt to that. So you can have a group of 10 working together, a group of 2. We need lighting that is bright and enhances instruction, not makes us all kind of squint and get blurry vision. So how we look at that can be interpreted in many ways. Update restrooms, particularly those open to the public. I know, breaking news. Our restrooms leave something to be desired. But certainly it is, that it's just one way we want to make sure we're always putting our best foot forward. And not just for the public, for all of us to make use of. Evaluate resources allocated to our facilities. So how are we have to be stewards of the resources we have, and we have to make sure that we're using everything to its best advantage. And in any decision we're making, that we're reassessing on an ongoing basis, that we're looking at our vendors recurringly, that we're putting things out to bid and getting multiple bids, and taking the time to really be thoughtful in those processes. Analyze the daily maintenance responsibilities of our campus and staff accordingly. There's a lot of activity that happens here every day. Even on a quiet day, there is a lot that happens here. And there's a complexity to everything that is beautiful and part of our charm, but requires thoughtful consideration. Enhance security on the campus. So we certainly have throughout the past years, and especially last year, focused on how we can make sure that our campus is safe and secure. And whenever we're making a facilities decision, that takes top priority, and we'll put it right ahead of all the other projects that we're trying to tackle. Some things are more complicated because of the building structures that we have, but it doesn't mean it's not a priority, and certainly it's always one of our highest priorities. And implement sustainable practices on campus to reflect the values of the SSJ to treasure and care for the earth. So in everything that we're doing, both in process and how we're using our facilities, that we are setting a good model and we're teaching our students to be stewards of the earth. And in the decision we make with contractors and vendors that we use, that we're thinking of our carbon footprint, we're thinking about how we're going to be more sustainable, not just for financial resources, but more importantly for the story that we're telling our students. That we know that our earth is in crisis and we need to be stewards of our earth and model that for our children. So where so far? So as I mentioned, the RFP process for master planning is in full phase, and we are prepping for implementation. So we've certainly identified what some of the initial projects hopefully will be and what things we can do to be best prepared for starting to tackle those projects. What you can expect in the next 6 months, so completion and communication of the master plan. So through the master planning process, there will be opportunities to gather additional information. We've gathered a lot so far, but there will be additional community engagement in that process and help us identify first priority projects and execution of those improvements. Over the next 12 to 18 months, continue facilities improvements, reimagine the Fontbonne Library Learning Commons. So the library certainly is not sufficient to serve all of our needs of students, and certainly was not designed for the needs of a 2020 student. But by moving classes around, we can basically double the size of the library and create a learning commons area, and have that entire wing, that part of the U, be part of a larger innovation wing for the STEM area, makerspace, small group instruction, whole group instruction. So a lot of exciting things that can happen. Up at the Norwood campus, as the kids get older, we can have them explore the campus a little bit more. They can certainly make use of the beautiful resources in Sir James Anthony Hall, which was designed for a much larger group of students than currently use the building, but also look at spaces within the big house and in other buildings on campus that those kids can make use of. Looking at adding audio and television production studio space, moving some offices around to bring back the chapel so that there is a place for quiet reflection and for prayer on that campus. We have the beautiful Nello's Garden here, but right now there's no reflective space, no prayer space up on the other campus. So we'd like to see, and those are just the initial things we know we want to explore, and we know so many more things will certainly come through in this process. So drum roll please, I know we had the big email, but we had many folks here, but we were very excited over the past couple months to talk with our faculty about how they are going to be able to support this process. And one of the things that always strikes me is the level of excitement and enthusiasm our teachers bring to any new challenge. And we've all been really thrilled and impressed with Ms. Shannon Craig, this year in her new role in working with us as a partner in curriculum instruction. And as we spoke, Mrs. Peluso and Ms. Finning and I, over the past few months, we talked about having this council and who would be folks to be part of that. And so the council obviously includes Abby Mottler and Marion Canuso. They're both here this evening. Shannon Craig mentioned Monica Walsh, who is relatively new to NFA, but brings rich experience and is the lead teacher in the Carriage House. Joe Rosowski and Lindsay Sachs. A lot of you know Lindsay from some of the great work she's done with all of your kids. I know she's gotten to share with the parent community. And we're seeing this being an incredibly balanced team that brings such a wealth of perspective and experience, as well as knowledge of the current curriculum standards and how we can bring that to whole new heights. So we are very, very excited. And then we know that committee will be looking to both engage smaller subcommittees among the faculty and look for the talent and support of the larger community. We've had great engagement and participation throughout this process, and we will look to continue to engage those folks as we move through projects and identify needs within the curriculum. We welcome that kind of participation. So this is just some pictures of the campus, since I know every time I have someone who has somebody in this building come to my office, they're like, I've never been here before. So this is James Anthony Hall, for those that many of you know well, and then it's only the big house. So this is our plan, and how are we all going to own it and live it. So this is not meant to be a plan on a shelf. This is not meant to be a process that is complete. This is just the opening of a lot of doors and a lot of work yet to come. And we depend and rely on your engagement in this process. So we certainly want you to stay involved. So if you've already offered to be part of one of these committees or support subcommittees, that is wonderful. We would ask you to give some more thought to this, and if you could, as you think about how you see yourself being the biggest, agent of change within this process, what are the skills you bring, what are your passions, and how can we best match them? We will have no shortage of work. We potentially have shortage of workers. So think about that, and please identify within an email to planning at norwood.org where your areas of interest are, and we'll help connect you with the right committees and areas for engagement. We're going to have some coffees. We'll have a series of opportunities. So we're trying coffees next. They're timed the same days as the parent-teacher conferences on the 12th and the 13th. So we're doing the mid-morning. We know that won't work for everyone, so we will have other opportunities as well. But it seemed like that was a potential that there would be more people on campus. And we will have meetings specifically about the changes for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for next year. We by design didn't open up this material on the website, but the full plan objectives will live on the website. But we wanted everyone to be paying attention tonight and coming in person. You will also get a simplified brochure you can bring with you to reflect upon. And so that has not as much detail as is in the full plan, but certainly you may help yourself to those on your way out. We'll try to have at least monthly communication about great initiatives tied to the plan. And whenever we're communicating, we're going to try as much as possible to tie what we're doing to the plan so that we can all see those connections and see how we're making progress towards our goals. We ask you to be advocates and supporters of this plan in the larger community. Everyone couldn't be here this evening, so help spread the word and help explain what you've learned and stay engaged in this process. Now, I know I spoke pretty quickly, and I would welcome some questions before we go through the other next steps for the plan. Karen Cavacos will be the Phil Donahue tonight. So does anyone have a question they'd like to share with the group? Or a thought? Yes.
Did you expect the 6th grade transition to the fall?
Yes. Yes. So we have been meeting with faculty about that plan for a few months now. We see a lot of ways that we can strengthen the articulation and the expectations in those grades by working more closely together. There's also a lot of limitations on our program because of schedule needs. So the goal is that they'll have a more independent schedule from 4th and 5th grade and from the younger students. We'll also have fewer teachers moving between campuses so that we can better utilize their time. Right now, a lot of teachers spend a lot of time driving between campuses, and you'd be surprised how much time that actually takes up in a teacher's day and how much prep time gets lost. Also looking at, we have a lot of, our teachers have so much on their plates, and the schedule design right now really makes it challenging for them. Sometimes they'll go days without any kind of free period or prep period. So how we can improve that so that they're having more time to collaborate together in partnership. So we will continue to explain, what that process will look like. We have more than enough classroom space within James Anthony Hall and locker space. We're looking at the schedule and how that best meets the needs and trying to work in time for small group instruction, still having time for lunch and recess. So there's a lot of particulars we'll be rolling out, but we thought it was important to let you know that that's where we're seeing us be able to best support the needs of those students. Yes.
Well, first, I think you did a great job overviewing the aspects of this plan, and thank you to everybody involved. I know it's a lot of hours thinking through all these aspects. One of the aspects that I was hoping to see was specific initiatives for kids with learning differences. And I just wonder, if, I know this is a high-level overview and there's a lot of depth to this, but I'm just wondering if you can comment on any conversations that you've had specifically for kids with learning differences.
Yes, definitely, and that's definitely something we want to continue to analyze and put together a more intentional plan for. So I think in both the looking at our curriculum and how we're designing curriculum at all grade levels, that's only part of it. And that ties into also how we're identifying who we are as a school and what we do well. I think it's great to always be responsive to needs, but I think we need to maybe step back a bit and making sure we all understand and how we as a school can meet needs. So having, so that just like any other aspect of the school, every parent should be able to say in an informed way, these are the kinds of learning differences that NFA can support well. And this is what a support for that learning difference looks like at NFA. And this is how we're going to do that. So we certainly have some work planned. We're actually looking to go visit some schools that offer specific programs of support. So that's definitely something that we're looking at, but we didn't have a real specific update on it. Yes?
I just wanted to say that Mr. Rogers, that's something that came up in our conversations about belonging and inclusion as well, that ties directly to that goal, and so that wasn't lost in our conversations with that piece as well.
And even just to build on that, I would also say looking specifically at those 3 areas we said are part of the middle states, I think in particular looking at the math curriculum, that can be a content area that will look very differently depending on the kind of the style or learning difference a student may have. So I know that's already been part of the conversation that teachers have been saying, how are we going to really evaluate how we're doing this well at each grade level? Yes. Yes.
What will good look like? Are there measures that we put in place of what we want to be in 3 years, 5 years, whether or not it's enrollment targets, investment targets, etc.?
Yeah, so there will be, and unfortunately we're still in the first phases of some of this, but for every committee that's supporting these goal areas, there will be measurable deliverables that will be assessed and report out on progress towards growth throughout the year and at the end of each year. So we are certainly looking at best practices to develop, where we want to go in a very deliverable way and setting the benchmarks. We also think it's really important that these committees are part of that analysis. So we will be able to provide more specifics, and I think definitely, for the end of the year, start of the year, as these committees get fully up and running. Some lend themselves more easily to measurable data, and so that's one of the initial challenges for some of the committees have been. When I spoke with the folks for diversity, equity, and inclusion, that would lend itself more towards qualitative data than quantitative data. Luckily, I like mixed methods because I really was not a math student. So I know in my own graduate work, I think there's a real beauty in bringing those two together and figuring out a way in a deliberate fashion that you're pulling qualitative and quantitative data together. So it's a very good point. Yes?
In talking about the curriculum and some of the academics, to what extent has there been any thought given towards teacher retention and recruitment? Because I know that's an increasingly competitive space, and obviously teachers are a pretty key component to most of what we talked about today.
No, definitely. And I think, so small ways we've looked at in a way of sort of building what are the ways that we show our appreciation? What are the softer benefits we can give to teachers? How do we make sure that we're keeping our best teachers here? But then also in a more formalized way in looking at a partner like Kearney Sando & Associates to say, so what is the market? What are the challenges? What is the best practice that we can attract a real strong and diverse pool of applicants? And what are the different kinds of compensation that people are looking for today? And I think everyone's making a real specific choice to work in an independent school. And they're balancing a lot of opportunities. And so some of the biggest drivers of why a teacher or staff member wants to be at NFA are not always just about dollars and cents. And so I think those are all things two-way. And so that was, certainly part of the thing we've been doing in the past couple of years is just trying to bring people together and trying to support them and find out what are those ways on a day-to-day basis that makes their job easier to do. And then also, again, how are we really looking at our benefits available? And what are the ways that we can attract and hold on to teachers that might be tempted to move on somewhere else?
That company that you just referred to,
that's not just about attracting a more diverse teacher population.
No,
but
they are the largest, search and staffing firm to work with independent schools nationwide. They certainly have developed and were on the forefront of looking at attracting diversity in hiring, but that's only like one category that they do. So I think they bring a lot of wisdom. And again, looking for what are the best practices, what are the things we can model. And it's not that everything is necessarily going to fit at NFA, but we want to learn from the lessons of others whenever we can. Anyone else? Well, I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. As I said, there's going to be many, many more opportunities for you to learn about the plan and see where your role is within this plan. Please encourage your partners and your friends to be part of this, and your kids. That's another thing we're going to be doing, is rolling out this plan with the kids so they can learn about it, so that we're all speaking the same common language. I'll be here throughout the evening to talk with you. I would welcome the chance to meet with you one-on-one, welcome the chance to hear your thoughts and feedback. I know some folks aren't like me and don't like a microphone, so we would really welcome that. But I just want to say, with all sincerity, first I can say that this was one of the biggest projects I've ever undertaken, and I certainly could never imagine, to be honest, I could not imagine doing this anywhere else. I don't think that I can imagine the kinds of questions that would be asked, the kinds of challenges that we put forward, and the kind of energy and passion that would come from a community as happened here. It was thoroughly engaging and exciting for the process. It kept me up at night sometimes, but also woke me up in the morning with wanting to make a note about what we're going to do next. And I am so excited about what comes next. And there is so much. We have everything here to make this plan work, and so much more. And I thank you all for, after a long day of a lot of work, coming out tonight. But this is a very special place, and it's a very special place because of all of you. So now I'm going to end on a corny note, although I was told it's not too corny. But I think when your kids come to a school, they find their second home, and you do as well. And I think part of that is that you found all your homes here, and we want you to be part of this family. And in families, sometimes we challenge each other. Sometimes we have hard talks at the kitchen table. Sometimes we have to call each other out on their stuff. But also, we have to love and support and bring that richness to a family. So I hope you feel at home here at NFA.